Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Packers 101. And today we're going to be going through NFL quarterbacks. I'm going to be ranking them into five tiers: S, A, B, C, and D. So, as always, these are just my opinions, so take them with a grain of salt. And with all that said, let's get underway. First up, we have Josh Allen. Ooh, this is a tough one. Psych. No, it's not. Josh Allen, he's obviously in the S tier. I know he didn't finish out last season that strong, but he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Great runner, great thrower. He has it all. So Josh Allen, S tier, no question. Up next, we got Baker Mayfield, and he's got to go C tier for me. He's not quite as bad as being the lowest tier, but I don't think he belongs anywhere above C. He's been inconsistent his whole career. His rookie year was far and above the best year of his career, in my opinion. But he's yet to really find himself, so I can't put him further than C at this point. Up next, we have Joe Burrow, and this one is also an easy one. Nope, not B, S tier. Joe Burrow probably should have a Super Bowl by now. Should have won it last year and the year before, to be honest. But Joe Burrow, what can you say about him? He's got a great weapon in Jamar Chase. He's got a great organization in Cincinnati. I think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks of our generation. Up next, we got Derek Carr. I think B tier is the right place for him. He's a solid quarterback. I wouldn't say he's elite, but he's he's above average. So I think B tier. It's a good place for the B. It's a good place for Derek Carr to be in the B tier. I think that's a good definition for his skill set. Up next, we have Dak Prescott. I'm gonna put him in the A tier. I think that A tier is a good place for Dak Prescott. He's a solid quarterback. I don't think he's, top 5 or anything, but he's an above average quarterback, and I'd say he's borderline elite. So I think A is a good spot for Dak. Up next, we got Andy Dalton. D tier. He's not a starter anymore. He's not what he once was. I love Andy Dalton. I really do, but he's just not that guy anymore. So D tier for Dalton. Up next, we got Sam Darnold. I think C tier is another good place for him. I think that in the San Francisco system he's now in, if he's a starter, I could see him upgrading his way to the B tier. But based on his production throughout his career, I cannot justify going any higher than C. So I think C tier is where Sam Darnold goes. Up next, we got Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. I think B tier is good for him. I think he's about on par with Derek Carr's skill set. Maybe a little bit of a better runner, but needs a little bit more improvement in the consistency of his throws. But he's a good quarterback. I'd say he's about average, maybe a little above average. And with Brian Dable as his head coach, I think he's going to do even better. So Daniel Jones at the B. Up next, we got Justin Fields. D tier, you suck. Just kidding. I think B tier is another good spot for him. Now, even though statistically Fields didn't have a great season last year, he was a great runner, first of all, just as good as Lamar Jackson running. And passing, even though it wasn't the greatest stats wise, he had nobody last season. That offensive line for Chicago was terrible. Worse in the league. He was sacked 55 times. It was a nightmare. He had Darnell Mooney for a good part of the season, but he got hurt. Chase Claypool, he wasn't that good. And Equanimous as your third receiver, that's not a winning formula, but he still showed some impressive highlights even with all this, so I think he's deserving of B tier right now. Up next, we got Geno Smith. I'm also going to put him in the B tier. I think that he had a really good season when there were no expectations for him to have one. And let's not get it twisted though. He has a great supporting cast in Seattle. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett as your wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. That's amazing. That's one of the best duos in the league. Seahawks defense is okay. The O line is okay. Kenneth Walker is a good running back, but Geno Smith really showed out, so he deserved the status of B tier. Up next, we have Jared Goff. Okay. Even though he had a good season last year, like statistically, it was a pretty good season. I'm gonna put him in the C tier, and here's why. The main reason he had those stats was because of Dan Campbell, the O line, and Amon Ross St. Brown. Okay, it was not that team was not good because Jared Goff willed them to win. It was because he got carried. Let's be real. He got carried. He also had Jamal Williams score 17 plus touchdowns, and DeAndre Swift is a running back. So I think C tier is a good spot for Goff. He can win you games if you build the roster around him the right way. So C tier for Goff. Up next, we got Taylor Heineke. Now, a lot of people might get mad at this, but I genuinely believe it. I think Taylor Heineke is B tier. Now, if you watched him last season with Washington, the games he played, he was actually really good, in my opinion. And he has that leadership in the locker room that is very undervalued, in my opinion. And if they kept him in and didn't put him Wentz that one game when he got healthy, I genuinely think Washington would have made the playoffs last year. But Ron Rivera made that decision, and as they say, the rest is history. But in Atlanta now, I think Heineke is going to have a really good year if he's the starter. So I think he's deserving of B tier. I really do. Up next, we got Justin Herbert. This one's easy. S tier. Nothing to say here. Justin Herbert, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. The game that I really knew that Justin Herbert was the guy in LA was the season before last. It was week 17 or week 18, and it was against the Raiders to go to the playoffs. And they had so many fourth and tens, and he just kept converting them with crazy throws. That was the moment I knew, okay, Herbert's that guy. So I think he's one of the NFL's best. I think that with a little bit more time and playoff wins, he'll get more recognized. But I think he's deserving of S tier. I really do. All right. Up next, we're going with Jalen Hurts. And I'm comfortable putting Jalen Hurts at the A spot. I think that another season of consistency like he had last year and he goes up to S tier. But I don't think I can justify putting him in S tier yet. But Jalen Hurts, very good quarterback, and I think that with more time, he will become one of this league's best. Up next, we got Jimmy Garoppolo. Ooh, this one's a little tough. I think I'm gonna go B tier. He's a solid quarterback, but again, that San Francisco system, just about anybody could succeed in it. So I'm curious how it'll look with the Vegas Raiders. I mean, granted, he has Devontae Adams there, but he doesn't have as good of a system as San Francisco. Josh McDaniels is no Kyle Shanahan. Let's get that straight. But either way, I think B tier is a good spot for Jimmy. He's about average, maybe a little bit above average as a quarterback. Up next, we got Kirk Cousins. Vikings fans, stay mad. We're putting him in the C tier. Now, here's the thing: Kirk Cousins, he's not terrible, but he has so many weapons around him, or at least he had Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, and his numbers really weren't too impressive, in my opinion. And he should have beat the Giants in the playoffs. Losing that game, very bad. And he had so many games this year where they lost because of him as a direct result of him. So I really don't think putting him any above C is justified in my opinion. I really don't think it is. Up next, we got Kyler Murray. And I'm going to put him in the A tier. I think Kyler Murray, when fully healthy, he's a pretty good quarterback. I know people say, oh, he doesn't watch film, he plays too many video games. He still shows up when it matters. He's a good quarterback. The media trashes him too much. Now, he did have an unfortunate injury in last season towards ACL. I really hope that he recovers well, and I hope that he can play to the level that he has before. But based on everything that Kyler Murray has done throughout his career, I'm comfortable putting him in the A tier. Up next, we got Lamar Jackson. I think that he's a very kind of similar player to Kyler, just a little bit faster, and maybe a bit of a better thrower. Oh, that's debatable. But I'm going to put Lamar in the A tier. Solid quarterback, great runner. The only thing with Lamar that's holding him back from being S tier is his health. The past 3 seasons, he hasn't had a fully healthy season, so I can't put you in the S tier. I really can't. Up next, we have Green Bay's Lord and Savior. Not just kidding, he's not next. Next, we have Will Levis. And I'm going to put him in the C tier. I think that's a fair place for him to start. He's a rookie, unproven. That's where I'm going to put majority of the rookies at the C tier because we really don't know. Now, up next is Green Bay's Lord and Savior, the greatest quarterback of all time, Jordan Love. Obviously, he's going in the S tier. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. Just kidding. We're going to put him in C tier. I mean, even though he isn't a rookie, I'm treating him like he is a rookie. He really is an unproven guy. Now he has sat under Rodgers for 3 years, so he definitely has a leg up on the rookie class. But I think Jordan Love, he's gonna have a good season, but at this point, I can't justify putting him above C. I really can't. He doesn't have the film yet for me to do anything above C. Up next, we got Mac Jones, D tier. He has a good roster in New England. He has a pretty he has a decent amount of wide receivers led by Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry as a tight end, Johnny Smith as a backup, a pretty good O line, and a pretty good defense. He should be winning more than he is, but for whatever reason, his production it's not what it should be. So I think Mac Jones is a bust. I think that the Patriots should look to move on from him after this year, and I think they will. So Mac Jones, you belong in the D tier. Up next, we got Pat Mahomes. D tier, obviously. What are we even thinking? Just kidding. He's obviously S tier. Mahomes is probably the best quarterback in the league right now. If anyone tells you that Mahomes shouldn't be in the S tier, never listen to them about football ever, ever again. Some of the throws he makes, they're just ridiculous. Like it shouldn't even be possible, but he does. So watching Mahomes, it's a thing of beauty. We really should appreciate it while it lasts because people like Mahomes, they don't come by very often. Up next, we got Davis Mills. And I like him. He showed flashes, but I gotta put him in the D tier. He's not good enough to start in this league, at least at a high level. And he's gonna be the backup in Houston now, and I think that's where he belongs. So even though I like you, Davis, you gotta go in the D tier. Up next, we got Brock Purdy. And we're gonna put Brock Purdy. I'm debating between C and B. You know what? I'm gonna go B tier for the sole reason that he went undefeated since he took over, and I don't think we're ever gonna see that again. Mr. Irrelevant coming in for an injured quarterback and going undefeated up until the championship game where he didn't even really lose. He just got hurt. And I think there's a good chance if he didn't get hurt that he wins that championship game. So I think he deserved the spot of B just because of how impressive last season was. So Brock Purdy at B tier. Up next, we got Desmond Ritter. I'm gonna put him in the C tier. He showed some decent flashes in his rookie season. While he didn't start all of it, he was decent. I do think that Taylor Heineke is better though, and I think that's the way that Atlanta should go. But I think Ritter's okay, so I'll put him in the C tier. Up next, we have the greatest quarterback of all time, Aaron Bleepin Rodgers. Now, people are gonna call me biased for this, but I do not even care what you think because he is obviously in the S tier. Now, I know last season in Green Bay, it wasn't his best year. I think there's a few reasons for that, though. One, a broken thumb. It's kind of hard to throw when on your dominant throwing hand you had a broken thumb. Next up, obviously, I don't think his motivation was fully in Green Bay. I think that he was kind of burnt out from being in the same system for 18 years. So I think that he's going to find some newfound rejuvenation with the Jets, and I think that he has another MVP year. So Rodgers, you're still S tier. Don't worry. Up next, we have Russell Wilson. Uh, I'm debating between C and B. Just because of how bad last season was, I'm gonna go C. Although I do think he has a better season this year with Sean Payton. Last season was so bad for Russ. I can't justify putting him any higher right now. And up next, we got Matthew Stafford. This is kind of the same reason as Russ. I'm gonna put him in C just because last season was so bad. But I do think he has potential to move out of that. And Matt Stafford at his best, we saw what he looked like. He won a Super Bowl. So I really hope that he figures out whatever's going on with his elbow and he can get back to playing quarterback at an elite level. Up next, we have Ryan Tannehill. C or D, C or D. I'm gonna go C. I think that with a good run game and a good system around him, he can be serviceable and win you games, but he's not gonna carry the team by himself. I don't think he's that good, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think C tier is where Ryan Tannehill should be. I don't think he deserves to be above that. Up next, we got Trevor Lawrence. I'm gonna put him in the A tier. I think that last season was a kind of a coming out party for Trevor Lawrence. His rookie season wasn't really fair to judge him because he had probably the worst coach of all time in Urban Meyer. But now with Doug Peterson, I think that that's a good system there. I think he has good weapons, and he beat Justin Herbert in a playoff game after being down a lot of points. That took a lot of poise from Trevor Lawrence. So I think that he has potential to even move up to S in a few years. but I'm very comfortable putting Lawrence at A right now. And up next, we're gonna go with Tua Tagovailoa, aka Tua Turn the Ball Over. Thank you for those 3 interceptions against Green Bay, and I'm so sorry that you were concussed. That being said, Tua had a good year last season with short and intermediate throws, so I'm going to put him at B tier. Now I know that Miami's offense is loaded with weapons, Hill and Waddle. I think that's the best wide receiver combination in the league. Running game leaves a lot to be desired. O line's okay, but the only thing with Tua that's preventing him from being really good is his deep passing, in my opinion. I think that that needs a lot of work. But short and intermediate, he's great. He had a lot of good yards, good stats, so I think he's deserving of B tier right now. Up next, we got Deshaun Watson, D tier, and that's all I have to say about that. Up next, we got Carson Wentz. Yeah, you also got to go in the D tier, buddy. I feel so bad for Carson Wentz because had he not gotten injured that year that they won the Super Bowl when Nick took over, I genuinely think Carson Wentz could have been one of the best quarterbacks of this generation. But after that ACL tear, he was just never the same, and it's really a shame because he was a generational type player when he first came into the league. But I'm glad you got paid at least, and I hope the rest of your career goes well. Up next, we got Bryce Young, and we're gonna put him in the C tier with most of the other rookies. I think that's a good place to put him. He's unproven. Even though I don't like Carolina, I don't think he's gonna have a good year. I think C tier is a fair place for him to start. And last and definitely least, we got Zach Wilson. And you're going straight for the D tier. Have fun being on the bench with Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully, you can learn something from him. But I don't think you're starting anytime soon, buddy. You're not going to make his life hell as hard as you try. Anyway, that's my quarterback tier list. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Feel free to let me know in the comments. I hope you all enjoy this video and have a great day. See you next time.